on, guys? My name is Deja Terry, and you are listening to the Ellipses podcast. And the ones who have been rocking with me, I have been gone for so long, and I have to apologize. I've been gone for so long, but we are back. We are officially back, better than ever, and I am locked and loaded for you guys. And God has really been working on me this year and pouring, and this in particularly the unmarried divorce and how to avoid it, that has been on my heart very heavy. And we have been seeing so many things with social media, YouTube, TikTok, all these great, pranks and all this and relationships and this, that, and the third. But, and it's all great and fantastic. But with many of these relationships, there's always one thing that is wrong. And that is none of them are married. And we have this concept in our minds that we can achieve anything and everything and still have the Lord be in the middle of it with us not being married, and that is not the case. And, we've also come into this idea that we, in a relationship, being the title of a girlfriend or a boyfriend, we feel like we have to prove ourselves. So now, not only are we doing things and behaving in ways that a married couple would out of wedlock, but also we are trying to prove ourselves that we are husband or wife material. And now we're treating our spouses like wives and husbands, and they're not our wives and our husbands. And that's a problem, because now these days we don't know how to be girlfriends and boyfriends. All we know how to do is cook, clean, pull the pants down, all this stuff. That's all we know how to do. Why? Because society is pressuring us to feel like we have to prove ourselves. We have to, do all this stuff prematurely in order to get a husband or a wife. And I am here today to break that and, to open your eyes to some things. And, and a lot of us, we've been through breakups, and a lot of times we have felt like we've lost a piece of ourselves, and you'll notice it, and I'll notice it. It's like the silence. It isn't peaceful anymore. You'll get home and the silence is awkward. Usually when you come home, you're happy. You come home, sit on your couch, and the silence is just gorgeous because you have peace. But you come home, there isn't peace in the silence anymore. The loneliness makes you feel nauseous. You run all day and get so busy and do all these things to try and avoid the pain, just to come home and break down all over again because you can't run anymore from all the pain that you've been avoiding all day. And you have to sit down at home and look in the mirror and face, the broken, teary-eyed and weighted-eyed you. And then you look in the mirror, and a lot of times we start to question everything. Like, how the heck did I get here? And then, that's when all of the memories start, flooding back. And the reason why some relationships feel so heavy and we end up breaking down so much and feeling like we're having a funeral for the pieces of ourselves that we lost is because, in a way, it is a funeral. Because, when you treat your girlfriend or your boyfriend as if they're your husband or your wife, and you give too much too quickly and have premarital sex and create a soul tie, and then you spend money that you don't have to push your spouse toward their dreams, and then you end up putting yourself to the side and leaving yourself last physically, financially, and mentally for the sake of trying to carry them, when first of all, that was never your job. So now, not only are you trying to carry somebody, now you've removed God from the center of it, because that was God's job, to be able to carry you and carry him. And so you've stopped letting God carry you in your relationship because you feel like you can do it yourself. And I know, because that was me. So, some breakups can feel like a funeral, because when that person or you decide to leave, you lose a piece of yourself, and that person gets to keep that piece of you forever. When we decide that, we think this is our husband, we think this is our wife, and I know, I'm supposed to be saving sex for marriage, but we talked about marriage. I see the potential. We've talked about, getting married soon and all this stuff. I trust him. I trust her. You know what? I'm going to do it. And you end up creating a soul tie, expecting this relationship to last forever. When most likely that's not even your husband. Most likely that's not even your wife. And you end up losing a piece of yourself, and that person takes that piece of you with him or her, because you decided that you wanted to develop a soul tie with that person. And, now you have to develop that piece of you all over again that you lost. And you have to relearn that piece of you in a new way. And, the blessing in all of it is that God carries us through everything. And when you let him carry you, you sometimes in that development, a lot of times it would take years because we feel like we're doing it on our own. But when we let God carry us and let him replenish and replace that piece of us, that time that you thought would take 10 to 5 months or a year or more took 2 months or a year, which would have taken longer. And again, the YouTube couples make us believe, and these social medias and all this internet make us believe that relationships, that reflect marriage are the man's not supposed to propose. They haven't proposed, and we end up waiting around for years for a ring, yet we don't understand why we haven't received one yet. And all these people get mad and start creating songs and doing all this stuff. And, my man not doing this or she's not doing this. But you waiting around for a ring and you haven't received one yet. But honestly, where's the motivation for that man to propose? Let's get real for a second. Where's the motivation for that man to propose? And the woman goes, oh, well, I cook, I clean. Or the man goes, I pay the bills. I have a degree. I have a good job. I got a car. I'm good in the bedroom. I have a great family. I take her on trips. I give ideas to push his career. I inspire him or her. I'm beautiful. I pray for him. We talk about God all the time. I have great style. Well, there's your answer right there. The mystery is gone. Let's get real for a second. The mystery is gone. There's nothing for him to seek. There's nothing for him to seek. In the Bible, it says that when a man seeks, he shall find a wife who finds a good thing, and he will have favor from the Lord forever. That's Proverbs 18:22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. That key word is finds. What is there for him to find if you just gave him the blueprint? Let's get real for a second. I'm giving y'all the raw and the real, because we losing time. What is there for him to find if you just gave him the blueprint? And you may be a wife, sure, but don't be so afraid that you won't be found that you start to reveal things that are only meant for your husband. Society has confused us to thinking that being a girlfriend means we have to provide wifely duties to prove we are wife material. And if you have the title of girlfriend, then that is who you are, and that is who you shall operate in. Girlfriends don't pay for trips, nor go on trips with their boyfriend. You save that for your husband. Boyfriends don't pay for hotel rooms and roses and overwhelming amount of gifts for their girlfriend on their birthday. That should be saved for your wife. But dates are great. Sitting in the car sometimes and praying, and talking. That's great if you can handle that. Sure. But don't do so much to where you have nothing left to give your husband or your wife. These days we are going through, the pain of what it feels like to divorce. And none of us are married, but the pain is so overwhelming and severe because of the soul ties, because we're in the wrong positions as, being wives and husbands instead of girlfriends and boyfriends. It feels like we are losing so much, and that breakup and pain is so bad that it genuinely makes us want to go, you know what, I'm not dating no more. Forget this. Forget it. And we feel like we do that because we feel like we have to prove ourselves, but really the proof is in the fruit. The proof is in the fruit that grows from your tree. And, because we have operated as a wife and as a husband for so long, from living together to the sex, to the trips, to having children out of wedlock, which causes us to stay in relationships that sometimes God told us that we needed to move away from, but we're so afraid of the unknown that we stay, or to buying furniture together, sharing families on holidays, sharing bank accounts and cards. What? Do you see where I'm going with this? And you wonder why you feel like you've just lost a piece of you. It's because you did. And in the midst of that, we almost always lose a sense of who we are individually. And, you no longer live in your singleness. People think that just because you are dating or you're married, you are no longer single. You belong to God and God only. And you may be married or you may be in a relationship, but you are still single. And that doesn't make you, that doesn't mean you go out and date 5 people. It means you still take that girls trip. It means you still spoil yourself. It means you take yourself on a date. It means you hang out with your friends. You go work out. You go get your nails done. You go get your hair done. You don't wait. You don't wait for your boyfriend to buy your nails and to buy your hair and to give you permission to go out with your friends. Girl, no. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You don't wait. And we can get so caught up in trying to prove ourselves of being a husband or wife material, that we end up putting that girlfriend or that boyfriend, before ourselves. And then we become drained and tired and bitter and resentful towards that girlfriend or boyfriend later on, or that husband or wife later on, because we chose not to put ourselves first and we're blaming the spouse for it. But really, it's your own fault because you chose to put that spouse above yourself. And you have to trust God has not, only has you in his hands, but has your spouse in his hands too. And when we try to carry everything on our shoulders, we are taking God out of the center of our relationships. And it makes us vulnerable to the enemy's moves. And I know right now times are getting hard and society makes it really, really hard. And we feel like we have to rush to find somebody. And instead of being patient and letting God rain down love on you in your singleness and grow you to prepare you for your marriage, a lot of times we can jump prematurely because, he or she checked 1 or 2 boxes on your list. Wow. All because we didn't want to wait. And in this season, I hear God saying, look in the mirror at yourself and look at that mirror until you see how God sees you. And in this season, let God love on you. Some of you have standards set and don't deviate from those standards just because you feel like he or she doesn't exist, because they do exist. And society is going to tell you and make you feel like your standards are too high, or your standards are too 80s, 70s, 60s type standards that don't exist anymore. They exist, baby. But it's in the waiting where you have to be patient. And because God can see ahead of you and you can only see what's in front of you, you have to understand God can see that person and see that person exists. So you have to trust God in this season. You really, really have to trust him. And I feel like lately, you've trusted him with everything else. And it's that one thing, that most vulnerable thing. I want you to give him that most vulnerable thing that you feel too ashamed to give him. That thing that you feel is too much for God to carry. That is the thing that he wants from you. And as soon as you release that, as soon as you give him that, and you take your hands off of the wheel and you let him drive, and you rest in the fact that he is still going to do it, that he hasn't forgotten about you. And the longer the wait means he's molding someone for you that is beyond any list or expectation that you could ever think, dream, or imagine. But in the meantime, release the things too heavy for you to carry. Trust him through the process. Take care of you first. Love on you. Spoil yourself. Keep God in the center of everything that you do. And don't let society tell you what dating is supposed to look like. You want to avoid that pain and that unnecessary work? Keep God first. Stay in position. And do not falter from the position God has placed you in your singleness and in your journey with him. Because if you keep God in the center and you keep your eyes on him in everything that you do, God will do exceedingly and abundantly what you can ask, think, or imagine. So enjoy this season that God has for you. Enjoy your singleness. Enjoy your journey with him. And most importantly, look in the mirror and know that you are worth the wait. You are so worth the wait. I love you guys, and that was on my heart for you today. I thank you for listening. We'll be back next Sunday. We're going to get back to the consistency, and I'll have something ready for you next week. I love you. You have been listening to the Ellipses podcast with Deja Terry, and I can't wait to listen and be with you next week. Good night.